Liz Harrison, and I'd like to call together the 60th annual meeting of the Brattleboro Housing Partnerships, Monday, November 14th at 22 at noon, Hayes Court Community Room 50, Garfield Drive. To begin with, I'd like to say a few words about why I volunteered to be a part of the Brattleboro Housing Partnership. This is an awesome group, and everyone does a great job. I learned about Brattleboro Housing Partnership and a family member was residing at Wyndham and Windsor. Also, I knew Chris Hart as a Rotarian. She had spoken at one of our weekly meetings occasionally, and I was very interested in what she described as the goal of Brattleboro Housing Partnership. Housing the mentally and physically disabled and the elderly has been long a concern and began when I was a social worker in my early career years, serving the public housing residents in Cincinnati, Ohio, back in the 70s. What has impressed me the most about Brattleboro Housing Partnership and attracted me to volunteer to serve was the support we offer the residents. I had only been on the board for about a year when COVID hit, and I saw all the hard work the staff did to support the residents and provide connections and keep folks feeling less isolated. Everyone worked so very hard. I was very impressed with the leadership of Maggie Foley, guiding the board and the staff with excellent questions, and facilitating our focus on a long-term plan to make improvements in areas most needed. Ideas were collected from all staff, all board members, and all residents. SASH for All is a major improvement in our community, giving advocacy to the needs of our residents and helping them to connect with services. Transitioning to board chair has been an honor and an awesome experience. We not only had our former chair retiring, but also our vice chair, leaving both at the same time. Our board is limited to 5 people. I was honored to take the helm with Alicia as our vice chair. She has been the newest board member, but is now a veteran. Byron Stokely, not mispronounced your last name, I'm sorry. A long-standing board member has been a vibrant member. It was his idea to expand the onboarding process for new commissioners, which has proven very helpful and successful. We are very grateful to Byron for his in-depth thinking and excellent questions. We welcome and are thrilled with our 2 newest board members, Pat Green and Gary Stroud. Both of whom have long-standing connections with Brattleboro Housing Partnership and bring great experience. Christine Hazzard, our executive director, is probably the most organized person I know. She makes my job as chair easy. The board packets of information to review monthly, the excellent minutes, her amazing historic and current knowledge of Brattleboro Housing Partnership are great. She can, from memory, give background on most everything we do. We're so very blessed to have her as our AD. Her staff is fabulous, and we review the well-written and detailed reports monthly from various departments. Being a part of this vibrant and ever-growing organization as a commissioner brings me joy and a sense of being able to contribute in a manner so vital to the health of our community. I now invite our commissioners to tell their own answers to the questions of why I choose to be a member of the board. I will go in alphabetical order by first name. Alicia?
Hi, my name is Alicia Underwood, and I am a resident of Brattleboro. I am also a former resident of Brattleboro Housing Partnerships as one of the family sites for over 22 years while I finished college. I have a family member who is currently a resident of one of the housing sites, and I have worked on a professional level as a community partner through the hospital with the health and wellness programs with Lorelei, Morrissette, Shawna, and Christine. I was approached by one of those staff members seeking a position on the board as a volunteer, and for me it just made sense. It made sense because of the opportunity to give back to all the wonderful people, all the past staff members and current staff members who have supported me and my family over the years, and I can now support them. I currently work for nonprofit organizations, and there was an opportunity to volunteer on the Brattleboro Housing Opportunities, Inc., which is the nonprofit board of this organization. And so as a board member representative on that nonprofit has been new and exciting, and has been able to help and develop my grant writing skills that I currently do with my current position. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Byron?
Join the board because we have to do what we can to make decent housing available for people the market neglects. And the housing partnership has seemed to me an extraordinarily good effort.
Thank you. Gary Stroud is not here today for medical reasons, and he emailed me a short statement he'd like to share. This is from Gary. I took a strong interest in Brattleboro Housing Partnership primarily because I took a strong vested interest, and I love what they do. The people who need affordable housing with low income challenges today in this economy, plus I wanted to help as well. That's from Gary. Pat?
Pat Green, I am from Brattleboro. I was born and raised here. I have been interested in Brattleboro housing. My mother was a resident way back, I think in the early 70s. And my daughter has just become a resident. When I retired from the Holstein in 2005, my husband and I moved into housing, and I've been there for 17 years. I took an interest because I know firsthand what the residents think, what they want. And even there's scuttlebutt wondering why, and I tried to explain to them after being on the board there are reasons for this, and they seem to understand. So I've thought with the housing situation and the waiting list, I have friends that had to move out of their apartments. They're on the waiting list. It will be 2 years before they get in. So there's a really need for housing that you can afford. And after my husband passed away, I don't know what I would have done if I lived in a regular apartment. I could not have done it. So I'm trying to do the best I can to serve on the board for the 3 years I'm on.
Thank you. Christine?
Great, thank you. I would love to introduce next our Wellness and Supportive Services team. We have a whole group here who are going to do a presentation. I will introduce them. Lorelei Morrissette, who is our Wellness and Services and Staffing Director. Shawna Jones, who is our SASH, Support and Services at Home Implementation Manager. Matt Attesi, who is our Education and Employment Coordinator. And Jake Bursky, who is our SASH for All Coordinator. And Suzanne Shapiro is here as well. And she is our nurse for the Support and Services at Home program. So I'll let you guys take it away.
Thank you. Well, I'm excited to be here today to share a little bit about the vision of the services team and where we are today. 8 years ago, when I started with Brattleboro Housing Partnerships, I had worked in many different positions in the services team. At the start of my time, our team was very small and consisted of a services team of 4. And we were serving seniors and families and covering about 300 apartments. While the reality was we wouldn't be able to help everyone, we did our best to work with as many people as possible. I battled with the fact that I could still see residents struggling because we couldn't do it all. In 2017, we gained another person on the SASH team for the senior locations. Warmed my heart to see how many more people we were able to help. However, the limitations of the grants really held us back from being able to bring more staff in for our family locations. 5 years ago, Christine, Jeanette White, and I had conversations about the needs we saw for more supportive staff. And I shared with Jeanette a case study that showed the potential that more services could bring to our family locations. We worked together, as Jeanette wrote up the case study, to show how the services can make a difference if we have the capacity to meet the needs. Through the process, it took years from planning to hiring, and I'm so proud to say today we have a team that is stronger than ever. And we're still adding on. Currently, we have an implementation manager, 2 SASH coordinators, a part-time wellness nurse, on sites of our seniors and adults with disabilities locations. We have an employment and education coordinator, a SASH for All coordinator, and a part-time wellness nurse on sites, supporting all of our families and bringing pleasure to just introduce you all. So can you go ahead and
Sure.
take it away?
Well, I'd like to start off by saying greetings and gratitude to all in attendance today. We really just would not be here today without your support and participation. As mentioned, I'm Jake Bursky. I'm a SASH for All coordinator here at Brattleboro Housing Partnership. And I started as a coordinator for traditional SASH in December of 2020. For those of you that are not familiar, I will briefly review the history and purpose of the SASH program. In 2009, Cathedral Square of Burlington initiated the first panel of participants with the aim of embedding supported services at housing sites to serve elderly and disabled populations, notably to work with participants during life events, examples being discharge from rehabilitation centers, injuries, family loss, etc. The traditional model uses a SASH coordinator and wellness nurse to complete assessments and facilitate collaboration with medical and social services, eventually utilizing data from the panels to inform what is known as a CHILP. This is the Community Healthy Living Plan. This plan reflects the various needs of each location and guides the programming to ensure relevance to participants. Each panel, as it's called, is a group of 70 to 100 individuals that are in relative proximity. It can either be a specific housing type, be a specific housing site, or towns that are nearby. By 2011, the program had spread through the state, including here at BHP. The program started in Brattleboro in 2011 with one panel covering Hayes Court, the Samuel Eliot Apartments, Melrose, and community participants. The program was also a huge part of the supports needed during Tropical Storm Irene. BHP rolled out a panel in Springfield the same year. Early in 2013, we added a half panel to Brattleboro and then another half soon after. We also rolled out a panel in Windsor, Vermont with Wyndham and Windsor Housing Trust that year. Then we started a panel in Upper Valley with Twin Pines Housing Trust in 2014, then Valley Cares in 2015. By April of this year, over 10,000 individuals have been participants in the program that maintains over 5,000 current enrollees. SASH is embedded in 140 housing sites statewide and collaborates with 67 service organizations. A 2016 study indicated that Medicare costs see a $1,450 reduction per participant on an annual basis. A 2019 federal evaluation found that Medicaid funding sees a $400 reduction in spending per year for each participant. The SASH team is currently comprised of the following staff. Shawna Jones is our SASH implementation manager and started in 2017 with a full panel based out of Hayes Court and eventually worked her way to the role of implementation manager. She still maintains a half panel here at Hayes Court and oversees operations for local panels. Next up is Suzanne Shapiro, who was hired on in 2021 and is the wellness nurse for the BHP panels and the local community participants. During the past few months, BHP has been fortunate enough to add 2 new members to the SASH team. First is Wendy John, who will be working with participants residing in Red Clover Commons in the greater community. She was hired on in October of 2022. And then next up is Ashley Jewell, who was hired just 2 weeks ago and will work at the Samuel Elliott Apartments. In the spring of 2023, Ashley will begin work in Bellows Falls. Although Wendy and Ashley are not in attendance today, they have prepared brief clips to introduce themselves. If you turn your attention to the screen over there, we'll have a quick intro from those folks.
Hello, I'm Wendy John. I'm the new SASH coordinator at the Red Clover Buildings 1 and 2, and I am very excited to be part of this program. I look forward to many years of involvement, and I'm just very glad to be here. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Sorry I can't be there with you all today. Have a great day.
Wendy!
Thanks for the talk.
Take your time.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Ashley and I'm the new SASH coordinator for the Samuel Elliott Apartments and eventually Bellows Falls. And I love being a part of a caring and open team that strives to brighten our community.
Sorry, there's a little thing in the way. You don't have to take that off.
I'm clicking on the picture.
So that was Ashley and Wendy, and we're going to push on to the next part of this. So we are just really lucky to have those two new additions to the team. They bring a great energy and positivity, and we're just really excited to see what they can do to help support the folks at those locations. However, that being said, SASH does not only operate due to BHP staff, as much as I would like to take credit. SASH works alongside other partners that make up our Memorandum of Understanding, which is comprised of the following partners: Healthcare and Rehabilitation Services, the Brattleboro Memorial Group, Senior Solutions, Visiting Nurse and Hospice of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Viata Home Healthcare. Currently, SASH serves over 150 participants across BHP housing sites. We are lucky enough to have residents here today, such as Shan, a couple other folks that have worked alongside us, and we're really just super lucky to have those folks. So in July of 2021, Lorelei had first started speaking to the Wellness and Services team about the potential of expanding the traditional SASH model to family sites. By September of 2022, that dream was finally manifested into the SASH for All program. This program, also known as SFA, is a pilot project that was funded through earmarks from Bernie Sanders. We have various milestones to meet, most notably that we need 10 households enrolled in the program by the end of 2022. Within the next few months, we are optimistic about meeting the projected targets and will continue to engage in programming and community outreach. The SASH for All team will have a similar structure to the traditional model with a coordinator and wellness nurse, while also implementing the additional role of peer support advocate. In addition to Brattleboro Housing, Wyndham and Windsor Housing Trust will be implementing a program in parallel, which will share similar objectives and team structure. Speaking of, we also want to shout out our new SFA wellness nurse, Liz Watson. Liz moved to New England in August of 2022 and joined our team shortly thereafter. We are so happy to work alongside her in supporting our residents. And I believe we may have a brief clip from Liz. Liz, unfortunately, is not in attendance today as well.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Watson. I'm the wellness nurse for the SASH Referral Program located at 2 different properties, Moore Court and Ledgewood Heights. I'm very excited to be here and to be a nurse for these 2 communities, and I am very grateful for this opportunity. Thank you.
That's Liz. We're very lucky to have her. In addition to assisting residents in managing chronic conditions and life events, the BHP Wellness and Services team is working alongside our Employment and Education Coordinator, Matt Attesi, to help folks get connected to the appropriate resources to encourage additional education and gainful employment. Let's hear it from Matt.
All right, so good afternoon. As Jake mentioned, I'm Matt Attesi, the Education and Employment Coordinator at Brattleboro Housing Partnerships. I was hired on June 27th of 2000, and over the past 4 months, I've taken some time to get to know the programs I'm working with and the communities that I'm serving better. Program-wise, I had to get to know the Family Self-Sufficiency Program and how it functions while developing the Moving to Work program. I did this while learning the language the agency had developed over the past several years about both programs and ensuring that the current program was still operating at the same time. What made it work was that the goal of the programs was similar in this, that was to increase the self-sufficiency of the participants. So it made the work of laying down a roadmap very easy. During this time, I also got involved in learning about my local community and its resources. I was able to schedule meetings with agencies to better understand the services and eligibility requirements, as well as to get to know about the 2 sites I'd be working with. I listened to what people were saying and was able to develop partner agencies and those, as well as those on the wellness team, to bring meaningful programming to the sites. Jake and I have been on the ground a lot recently at Moore Court and Ledgewood to put us in a better position to make connections and develop programming that is in direct response to the asks of the community. We've held listening sessions and coffee hours to listen to what residents wanted and needed in their community, and these activities that the committee asked for ranged from social engagement like game nights and basketball to personal enrichment workshops, parenting and nutrition, and even the youth from both sites voiced their desire to have things like leadership courses and life skills workshops to healthy relationships and developmental discussions. Recently, we were able to bring a pop-up parenting workshop that dealt with communication to the sites that not only had the youth and adults present, but it also generated some really positive discussions that resulted in both the presenter being asked back. Slowly, we are starting to see the level of participation and trust develop as we are on the site more often and are able to provide opportunities for growth and development and a direct response to the asks of the residents. I look forward to continuing this positive work and partnering with the rest of my dynamic team to continue not only to connect people to resources, but to give residents other experiences through which they can grow and develop. And now back to you, Jake.
Thank you, Matt. I would like to conclude quite simply by saying that the Brattleboro Housing Partnerships Wellness and Services team works to ensure that residents at our properties remain housed and healthy. Here's to another 60 years.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
You came just at the right time at the end.
Yeah.
So first of all, I want to say thank you to everybody who's attending. So thank you all for being here. I know that it's we had a hard time just choosing where to have our event. So I'm grateful for all the residents who were able to attend. And thank you for the staff who have presented, because I know that that's not always easy to do. And so they did it so gracefully and they did a great job, so thank you. I also want to say thank you to everyone that put this together, including going shopping and getting cupcakes and decorating. They did a great job, and so I want to thank the staff who really went above and beyond of their regular job to do this, so thank you. So for those of you who don't know, I want to just say welcome. I'm Christine Hazzard. Probably many of you have maybe talked to me on the phone, but you might not have met me in person. So, well, that's who I am. I'm the executive director, and I'm the 5th executive director in the past 60 years. So they tend to stick around. The Brattleboro Housing Authority was created in 1962 by the town of Brattleboro, specifically to address the housing needs of the community's lowest income elderly persons. The first chair of the board was Carol Garfield, and it only seems fitting to hold today's event on Garfield Drive, which was named after him. Over the past 60 years, the organization has grown and expanded in many ways. Based on information from my predecessors, it seems that the first 35 years or so of the Housing Authority was really based on bricks and mortar. Melrose Terrace, Hayes Court, Moore Court, Samuel Elliott Apartments, and Ledgewood Heights were all built during that time. However, the past 25 years brought a shift. The focus expanded from thinking about housing as buildings and leases and shifted to thinking about housing as communities, neighborhoods, and neighbors. It seemed only fitting to rename ourselves Brattleboro Housing Partnerships. Much of the work that Brattleboro Housing Partnerships does is about relationships. Currently, we house over 450 households in our community within our housing neighborhoods and through our Housing Choice Voucher program. This requires a tremendous amount of thoughtfulness in building and maintaining relationships. This is building relationships between residents and our staff, between our organization and landlords in the community, between maintenance and contractors, between residents and other residents, and between us and other organizations throughout the community so that we can continue to grow. A year ago, we were in the middle of our 5-year strategic planning process. During this extensive process, we got feedback from community partners who interact with our residents on a regular basis. We receive feedback from residents at every housing neighborhood, and we talk to the board and staff to see what they see as our biggest challenges and opportunities. We finalized the strategic plan in late winter and began focusing on goals this past April. Our first goal was to strengthen our neighborhoods. This goal focused on need for human connection. The traditional tools of property management have been rules, regulations, and holding people accountable. And while these tools are important and very needed, they do not do much to create connection between ourselves. An intentional shift to bring more support staff began, and I am very happy to say that this year we have doubled our wellness and supportive services team. These new programs you heard about earlier from Matt and the group have been, and from Jake and the group, have given Brattleboro Housing Partnership more tools and ways to support our valuable communities and neighborhoods. Much like the town of Brattleboro itself, we pride ourselves on thinking creatively to address the area's needs. Here are a few organizational accomplishments from just this past year. We have onboarded new staff members. We took time and had patience, and I believe we have added a group of thoughtful, smart, creative, and kind people to our team. And we've added 7 new ones, which is a lot for our group, because we only have about 21 people on board. The Board of Commissioners has added 2 new commissioners who bring both great professionalism and lived experience to the board. The board also created a comprehensive onboarding process for all new commissioners so that they are fully equipped to fill their roles. A year ago, we completed Red Clover Commons 2. We completed Red Clover Commons itself by adding the second building, Red Clover Commons 2. Since then, our maintenance staff have had to learn new systems and develop new procedures to maintain the newest building, while also continuing to maintain all 6 properties. At a time with unprecedented local labor shortages, this was no small feat. The maintenance team have managed this successfully with hard work and persistence. Brattleboro Housing Partnerships also began to implement our first Moving to Work plan. For those of you who don't know, we are the first Moving to Work agency in all of Vermont. And we're in the beginning of developing our second plan. We also have raised over $25,000 from independent donors and through grants through our Brattleboro Housing Opportunity Inc. program to build a new playground at Ledgewood Heights. We're in the final stage of a very large, extensive flood mitigation project. This project across several acres of land creates valuable flood mitigation area at Melrose Terrace. This project will prevent areas in Brattleboro from future flooding, and it brings the remaining land out of the floodway for future development at a time when affordable housing is desperately needed. Lastly, I'd like to recognize the entire Brattleboro Housing Partnership staff. This year's staff have developed in countless ways. They have taken on new challenges, they have filled in for many people as they have needed to take time off, they've learned new skills, they've developed new procedures, they've completed trainings and conferences, trained new coworkers, and pushed themselves to become better people and employees. When you house hundreds of people, you have the privilege to witness life on many levels. You are present to see people when they are at their best, and unfortunately, sometimes at their most vulnerable, and everything in between. The Brattleboro Partnership team is filled with people who are faced daily with all different situations. They do this with grace, empathy, respect, and professionalism. We are all part of our community, and we all have something valuable and important to offer each other. We all have an opportunity to connect with those around us in meaningful ways. We all have something to offer each other. No time has affordable housing been more needed in our community, but also at a time when people are feeling divided and fearful and alone, our connections and relationships are crucially needed. Brattleboro Housing Partnership neighborhoods are not just bricks and mortar, they are places to connect with others and create positive change. We have a lot of work ahead of us. I am very thankful to get to do it all with all of you. So thank you very much.
Are there any comments from our residents or community members? Anybody would like to contribute? Any questions?
I just want to say, my name is Shan. I remember the first day I saw my apartment with Courtney, and I just couldn't believe that. I said to her, I said, "Is this really mine?" She said, "Yeah," and tears came. Being homeless for 3 years prior to that due to a domestic violence situation that I was in. But through the years that I've been here, yes, you've seen me at my best, and yes, you have seen me at my most vulnerable. And I felt safe enough to be vulnerable with many of you. Through the years of being here, I've undergone some pretty serious health issues, and without Shawna, without Suzanne, without Courtney in particular, I wouldn't have, I don't know, I just needed them, and they were there for me. So in order to get back, I can't, you don't pay these people, and just trying to get back to my community. They've given me opportunities to deliver flyers and help with the garden and the garden boxes, and I'd like to get back to doing community meals again. I don't know who to talk to about that, but we used to cook. There'd be 3 or 4 of us once a month, and we'd cook in the kitchen and have big meals for everybody through Groundworks. So I just wanted to say thank you, and yeah, I'm just grateful for everybody, and what you do is, you can't put a price on it, so thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Okay. If not, let's begin a short formal meeting. I'd like to call a short formal meeting to order. This summer, when we had two of our board members, the chair and the vice chair, step down, their terms will end December 31st of this year. So we now need to elect a new chair and vice chair, so for our officers for next year. So do I have any nominations for chair? Yes, Byron?
To nominate Liz Harrison.
Any other? Any seconds?
I second it.
Okay. All in favor? The motion is passed. Okay, I'd like to nominate Alicia for vice president, vice chair.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay.
This is what you call a rigged election.
Oh, the word.
Okay, we now have to act on recommended utility allowances for 2023. We're giving a packet a week ahead of time before each board meeting, and we review that in detail, and we send any questions to Christine, so that at the next board meeting we can act on these. So, does anybody have any questions about the utility allowances that we've been sent? Go ahead.
Only, do we actually have any discretion on these, or are they?
So normally with the utility allowances, we tend to adopt the same ones that were adopted by the Vermont State Housing Authority. So these were the ones that were let out by them. And so how the utility allowances work is if we've already passed the fair market rents, which are on the bottom of the page. You did that last month, or the previous month before that. If somebody does not include, let's say oil, then that's deducted from the fair market rent. And so we don't, we tend to, allow Vermont State Housing Authority to decide on those numbers because they have the best sort of data. They track a lot more because they serve a lot more people. Were you recommending to increase or decrease part of it?
So again,
Did you want to make a recommendation about the current numbers or amounts?
no, I would
It's just a
very much
clarification.
defer to state.
Does anybody else have any other questions? Do I have a motion to accept the 2023 FMR and utility allowances?
So moved.
I need a second.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Passed unanimously. Okay. Item D is the act of recommended employee health insurance benefits for 2023.
You should take them in the car.
We did review this at our last meeting, and does anybody have any questions?
They still want the boxes back that the Navis came in? Do they want a lot of these boxes back, the empty boxes?
I'm not sure. We'll have to ask Shawna afterwards. We'll make sure to ask her as soon as we're done.
Go ahead, Byron.
I'm just appalled at the 80% increase
It is, it's really high.
in 1 year.
It is. The previous year, there wasn't a substantial increase, but I was even surprised that the increase was as big as it was, and that it was approved by the Vermont, what is?
Vermont.
Yeah, the Vermont Care Board.
Right.
And so if you look at the numbers, I have outlined, sorry, I'm trying to get to them too. I tried to make it into a packet so that you could really clearly see what the rates are for each year, what the monthly difference is for the total rates. I broke it down to if Brattleboro Housing Partnership were to contribute 90%, and then employees would contribute 10%, or if Brattleboro Housing would contribute 95%, and employees contribute 5%. And what we had done last year was we had made it 95%. And so these were the contributions. If you look at the last page, it breaks down exactly what the employee share was for 2022. But then for 2023, you'll see it here on the front page of the charts. And so based on looking at all this information with our fee accountant, James Griffin, and looking at all the numbers, we felt comfortable in saying that we could continue the 95% at this point. It would be a small increase for staff, but it wouldn't be a sizable increase. And I think that next year, we would be in a better opportunity to then make a bigger decision. I think with the inflation rates, it would be hard to add an additional cost burden to our staff.
Do I hear a motion to accept the 95% for 2023?
Move we continue the 95%
Second?
underwriting.
I second it.
Seconds. All in favor?
Thank you.
Yes. Is there any other business that we need to bring up? Therefore, we are adjourned. Well, I need to properly do that. I need a motion that we should adjourn. So moved, second?
Second.
All in favor? We are now adjourned.
Great, thank you all.